Okay, my name's Stephen Millard, and I'm the Public Information Coordinator here at RTD. And to give you an overview of our programs here, most of it's summarized in this report, but for a long time, of quite a few years, we've had Handy Ride service. It was a subscription service that went people call and reserve it, and it'd come right to their house and pick them up and take them right to their destination. Then about probably it's run about a dozen vehicles, and there's always been a waiting list for that. Then about 5 or 6 years ago, I guess, I think it was during the Carter administration, the Department of Transportation enacted regulations, including it was called the 507 regulation, and that required transit systems using federal funds and acquiring buses to buy lift-equipped buses with ultimate goal of having 50% of their peak hour fleet that's wheelchair accessible. And our board made a commitment to doing that. And ultimately, when the current administration took over and the 507 regulations were rescinded, the board maintained the commitment to go ahead and do that anyway, even though it wasn't required. So, by about 2 years ago, and the actual date will be in this report for you, through the acquisition of new buses and retrofitting about 350 buses with wheelchair lifts, we got to the point that on our Denver local routes, well, all of our local service routes, whether it's Longmont, Boulder, and Denver, that those local service routes, 50% of the peak hours accessible, and almost 100% of the off-peak buses are accessible. So that's the basic commitment we've maintained. We still operate the Handy Ride. We have 5 cent during the off-peak hours, 5 cent fare for elderly and handicapped. We also have a senior shopper where we can utilize our buses during off-peak hours, and also it's called Senior Ride. That's a whole calendar of events for senior citizens, whether it's theater, movies, art museum, whatever. So we also have a variety of programs for senior citizens too.
How long does it take? Let's say if I wanted to make a booking now, what's the length of time I would require so that I could guarantee a ride using the
Handy
service or Handy?
The Handy Ride?
Yeah.
I'd have to call and check. I'm not sure.
Approximately.
I don't even know that offhand. And part of it also just depends on how well they could accommodate you into the schedule. You know, your address and your destination was such that it would readily fit into some of the other trips they were making. They could fit you in within a couple weeks.
Hi, Bill. This is Patty.
It would just depend on where you were residing and where you wanted to go would be a big factor. So that's a relatively limited service we provide. So, and then we've worked extensively. It hasn't always been a completely amiable situation, but we've worked extensively with the handicapped community in Denver, which is very active and has 2 or 3 different organizations that are kind of spokespersons or whatever. There's one organization called the Atlantis Community that you might want to contact while you're here. Another one, and Hale, Holistic Approaches to Living or something. Okay. And Hale and Atlantis are the main 2. And as I say, they're very active. They lobby very aggressively for their program, so I don't know, you may already have the figure, but Wade Blank claims that there's 100,000 disabled individuals in the Denver metro area, which has a population of 1.7 million. And Atlantis also claims that there's 16,000 wheelchair-bound people in the Denver area.
Do you have any ideas on how many wheelchair journeys are used on your buses per day?
Yeah, we do. We do keep statistics on that, and if Gene's in his office, maybe he can talk to you about that, because he's a lot more familiar with that than I am. I haven't kept as up to date as he does, and it's, you know, he's kind of the in-house authority on that.
You see, in London it is argued that if accessible public transport was provided, I'm not saying my view, I'm saying everybody is, but wheelchair users would not use it. Have you found that to be the case?
Well, no, the ridership here in Denver has progressively increased since we implemented the service.
Takes people along with, can I just say, I'm also on the management committee of the Dial Ride, which is like your handicap. See, I'm interested in all levels. And we've only got 5 vehicles, plus the backup, and 924 subscribers. We have a 2-week waiting list, and that's why we're arguing for a fully accessible public transport.
Right.
And for the government to take commitment to it. But it's been said that by our Minister of Transport, that in America, wheelchair users do not use the bus service. A further fact is that when we started off our Dial Ride about 1.5 years ago, shows you how behind we are for you. Our Dial Ride, it was very easy to get a booking because people only use bookings for very specific journeys, like to the doctor or hospital. But as the time has gone on, it has got it's just got overbooked totally.
Well, see, that's with our Handy Ride, similar in part of the reason for backlog there is it's a subscription service, first come, first served, and so a lot of the riders use it literally daily. They go from their home to a job, to their home to a college or something like that, and so it's a lot of it's booked up by very regular users of the service.
How often do your lifts on your articulated buses break down?
Well, I don't have specific figures on that. Once again, maybe Gene could help you. As I say, we've had a lot of problems with the EEC lifts. The small shuttle lifts are real simple and functional. The articulateds have what's called a lift U, LIFT-U, and I think Spokane or someplace like that has pioneered those, and we've found that that's a much less complicated, more basic type of lift, and we haven't been having as many problems with that as we've had with the